I'm going to have Trenton come up. He's our youth leader. He's well versed in a lot of these things, and so he's going to share with you guys just these tools and just kind of a heart for change within your home and what that looks like.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, you guys, how's everybody doing? Good. I know it's been a lot of information already today. So today, my goal is to give you tools, okay? My goal is to, everything that you've had given to you as information, now let's start the application process. What do we do as parents to protect our kids? Down in youth, they're hearing about what that danger looks like, which has been a blessing for them to be interactive with the detective to understand the real dangers that are out there, right? But today, we're going to talk, like Pastor Jeff mentioned, what is y'all's step? What does that look like? We've talked about the negative impacts. These negative impacts are going to be social skills being dampened. Relationships are also going to be dampened. They might have health problems as their brains start wiring to being addicted to their cell phones, their technology, or electronics as a whole, and the ability to focus. They're going to lose that attention span fairly quickly. As soon as they are no longer on that dopamine kick, which is their phone and scrolling, they're going to want that over and over and over again. It's going to be wired in their mind. And lastly, the dangers of browsing. The detectives just came through and they got to speak about what that looks like, and these are the real dangers that we face. Now, today, here are the tools. First and foremost is our usage as parents, okay? Us as parents, we have a responsibility. The last thing we want to do is to tell our kids, I want you to be off your phone completely. I want you to be off of technology completely. But they see us on our phones. They see us going through our phones over and over and over again. Proverbs 22:6 tells us, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. If we expect a child's lifestyle to change, then we as parents must also make that change. Now, for some of us in this room, I know we may poke fun and say, it's my husband that's always on his phone, or it's my wife that's always on their phone. It's never me. I'm never on my phone. But I want to share a statistic with you. So John Mark, in his book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, shares this statistic. The average iPhone user touches his or her phone 2,617 times per day. Okay? So let's make that a real figure. That's roughly 31 seconds. Every 31 seconds, every iPhone user is touching their phone, whether that's checking the clock, seeing if you got a notification, whatever it may be. But every 31 seconds, you guys are touching your phone, right? There's extremes, there's outliers, there are people that do more, and there's people that do less. But that's the reality. I want to ask you guys something today. John Mark asks a very great question next. He says, what would life be like if God touched my mind as frequent as I touch my phone? It's a reality. What could our life look like if rather than going for our phone, we go for our Bibles? What could our life look like instead of going for the TV remote, we go to our journals to be able to show our kids what to do and how to walk life with God? What would we do if instead of going for our laptop, we go to spend quality time with our children? Toss the football, hang out, talk about school. What did you do today? That's the reality that our kids need. They need to hear that we're there for them, and we have to be the example. Because at the end of the day, they look onto us to be able to guide and protect them. And that is our role as parents. We want this for our kids. So why doesn't it begin with us? Us today, we have to make the first step. So what? Why does this matter? Why does this matter for us in this room? We understand our children watch what we do. So there's a story. There's a woman that my wife and I will watch on YouTube every once in a while. She's a Christian woman, and she came to the end of the year, and she said, these are my yearly goals. This is what I want to change for the next year. She just had a newborn baby. The baby came to be about a year to a year and a half, and she was still doing nursing and everything to feed her child. And so every time she would go to nurse, she would need her water, she would need her nursing pillow, and she would need her phone. Those are the three essentials for her to be able to feed. Well, as her child started growing up, whenever he would want to eat, rather than giving her the water or saying, Mom, I'm hungry, he would hand her the phone. For her, this was the wake-up call. My child that I thought had no association to this technology only knows I can eat if I give Mom my phone. That is what they saw. For her, it was heartbreaking. As a parent, hearing it, it's heartbreaking. Because we want our child to be able to experience life with us. But if life is through that phone, it's a wash, it's a loss. For us, like I mentioned before, there's an option. We can have them see our life filled with tech, or they can see our lives filled with Christ. They could see our laptop staying on the table as we start going to work, they could see our journal open to our devotional that morning. We have that choice. We have that option. And those are the steps that we as parents must start making. We need to make these steps. But if we don't want to just throw technology out the window and we don't want to just stop everything we're doing, let's look at the steps that we can do for our children. First, you need to establish family rules and guidelines for tech time. Deuteronomy 6:5-7 tells us, Moses speaks to the Israelites. He's speaking to the Israelites in this moment, and he's giving the greatest commandment. It says, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. And these words, which I command you today, shall be in your heart. I shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up." So what is this saying? He's teaching the children the commandment. For us also, we have to teach our children the steps. We have to mimic, but we have to teach. We have to set guidelines, and we have to set rules. So what do these guidelines look like? The guidelines are going to be different for every person. I can't set an exact standard of what that looks like because it's a spectrum of where you're at. You could have your child doing 8 hours of technology per week. It could be 15 hours of technology per week. That's based on where your family is currently. But what you do need to understand is that they are going to have a problem weaning off of that technology. They're going to give pushback. It's going to happen. This is an addiction for them. So when you start taking that away, expect that pushback. Now, if they're addicted, like I said, they're not only going to have pushbacks, they're going to have withdrawals, okay? But you as parents must stay firm to the rules and guidelines that you put forth. It's a necessity. Now, as a parent, you have to come up with this plan and stick to it. This can be having your child go from 8 hours a week down to 5 and then down to 3. Whatever that looks like for your family, you need to ensure that there's steps down and it's not just by the whim, that you're not just making it up as you go. You have to have these protocols down in place. The idea is that you want your child to start getting off of their devices as soon as possible. So like I said, if you're that extreme outlier and it's 15 hours per week, it's going to take a little bit longer for you to do this. If it's 2 hours a week already, it's not going to be as long, but they still might have pushback. That's okay. They're kids. They're going to want to do the things that are fun for them, and this is fun for them. Now, a good friend of mine, he's helped me prepare some of the thoughts behind this, and he has a few kids, and he says that his kids were on technology 2 hours per week, every single week, no matter what. That is the life that their kids had. Now, for him, he started noticing something. As they went to 2 hours, he thought, let me give them, instead of 1 hour, 2 hours. He noticed that the only thing they cared about, when is the next time I get to use my phone? When I'm eating dinner, when's the next time I get to text my friend? When I'm hanging out with my friends, tossing the ball, man, I really want to go play video games. That's what they were thinking about. That is the only notion that was in their mind. Now, he saw an issue with this. So what he did is he said, you know what? For me and my family, it's 1 hour per week on a specific day. That's just the rule. It's a time that they can go and play on video games, watch a specific show that's appropriate for their age. At this time on a Thursday, it's 1 hour per day. Now, he also set up specific rules. He calls these his devotional times and his story times. So for a devotional time, what does this look like? He and his 4 kids every single morning will do a devotional in the exact same piece of scripture. But instead of discussing it right then and there as they're reading it, they let their kids come to thought of what they just read. They say, okay, let's read, let's get through it, now let's discuss. They spend about 15 minutes discussing what God specifically showed them, whether child or adult, in that moment. And as a family, they're in the Word of God. They also have what they call story time. Story time is something that I think is absolutely amazing. They are firm believers in their children being able to build their imagination on their own, right? Not letting movies depict what real life might or might not look like. So what they do is every single night, rather than watching TV before bed, they'll grab a book. They just went through the Narnia series. They grab a book, and they have one person read that night, then the next child, then the next child, then the next child. And as their kids are reading to the entire family, the family's glued into what they're saying because they're watching something unfold. It's a movie unfolding before them. And I actually got to talk with his kids, and I said, how do you guys like this? You had movies, you had technology, you had TV shows. How do you like this now? It's their favorite part of their day. Because them as children, get to imagine, oh my gosh, can you imagine what the lion looks like? Can you imagine what the brothers are doing in this moment? They get to allow for that to become reality in their minds before they see it from another person's perspective. He then brought them to the Narnia movie to see it, and they're like, this sucks. This is not what I imagined at all. Like, he doesn't look anything like they described, right? Because they had something that they could picture. They imagined the story unfolding before their eyes, and they got to be part of the story. It wasn't just something that someone else made. They could be in the story. And for them, it was revolutionary. He will never take it away. It's such a cool thing. Now, for some of you, like I mentioned before, throwing out technology is something we may not want to do, okay? So now we're going to start talking about what you can do to monitor technology, monitor those devices. First and foremost, you cannot allow technology in private areas without a way to monitor. That has to be a step. I know for me, I was in the tech era growing up, and if I would have heard what I'm teaching today, I would have not been happy, to say the least, right? Because the last thing I wanted was for more monitoring. The last thing that I wanted was for my mom to take away my phone at night. But what I realized is the reason is because I never knew why. It was just, give me your phone, I need it. It was never, I am trying to protect you from the dangers of this world. This is the way that we do it. Let's walk through it together as a family. And that would have been critical to my information as a child. So what does this mean? This means taking phones maybe right before bed. I know when I was a kid, my excuse to my mom is when she would take my phone right before bed, I'd say, but Mom, I need my alarm clock. I have to be able to know when to wake up for school. I need it. And what was the way to get out of that? My mom went and bought me an alarm clock, right? And because as parents, you have to be able to be, one, expecting excuses, and two, ready for a solution for that excuse. Your kids are going to give you wild, wild answers, right? In youth, we hear it all, right? We have a number of different things that come through. But you have to be ready. You have to be ready for a solution. My mom could have let me use my phone. That's not the reason I wanted my phone, guys. The reality is that taking my phone away and giving me an alarm clock was a necessary step. It helped me understand there's boundaries, and that's what was needed. Now, I'm going to list a few different softwares that you guys can utilize to monitor your child's technology. There's 2 different monitoring softwares I'm going to talk about today. First is going to be a software called Bark. Now, Bark has 2 separate softwares built into it. They have what's called Bark Junior and Bark Premium. Bark Junior is going to be an entry-level software that allows for you to just get a taste of what you want to do for monitoring your children. Now, this is going to be a lesser tool. It's not going to have everything that the premium version have, but it does have a lot of the crucial steps. The first thing that it has is managing screen time schedules. And there's an example of what they actually have. We're going to put it on screen. This example is what the actual software shows. It has bedtime limits that you can do. The bedtime limit is going to limit access when it's time for lights out, like only allowing for music, podcasts, alarms, whatever it may be. You also have school time, which is going to limit what can be used during the school day. So if your child only needs to take notes on their phone, that's the only thing that's going to be there. And you as a parent have control of what's allowed to be there and what's not allowed to be there. If your kid's telling you, I have to have Minecraft for school, they do not have to have Minecraft for school. You can block that software, fully able to. You also have free time. Free time is when you dedicate time on your child's phone to be able to use whatever device or apps that you allow. If that is Minecraft or if that's Roblox, whatever software or games that you're okay with your child using, this is time that you can set it for them to do. It's locked time to where it shuts off after a certain period of time. So if it's an hour, it's done after an hour. You have that ability. There's also any other time, which is going to be a default rule that you as parents can make. So let's say that you have devotional time. The only thing that child should be able to access is the Bible app. You can set that in the phone. You have the ability to do so. Now, they also have the ability to block certain apps and sites. You can use their location feature. The location feature is a live location feature that allows for you as parents to know where your child is at all times. You can also set certain GPS locations to where, let's say you want your child to know where your child is if they've made it to school. As soon as they walk into that school building, it'll notify you, Johnny made it to school, and you get that notification. If they're going into unsafe areas, it'll notify you. Your child is not in a safe location. Alert. It gives you that notification. Now, it also covers unlimited children and unlimited devices. So when you go through either the monthly or the annual way, it is going to monitor all devices and all children within your home, okay? And Also, when you go to Bark Premium, there's 2 additional features, okay? These 2 additional features are going to be very imperative for what you guys are doing. These next 2 features are going to give you actual alerts for bullying, self-harm, or online predators. So as soon as your child receives something onto their phone that is suspicious, it notifies you. Whether that's certain language that is for bullying that child, whether it's certain language that is not necessarily safe for that child, or, hey, how old are you? Send me a picture of yourself. Those things will notify you immediately. You're also going to gain the ability to monitor text, email, and many other social media platforms. There's only 2 social media platforms that it's not fully in. It's going to be Snapchat and TikTok. With Snapchat, you can block the app completely, but you do not have the ability to go and scan the phone. Scanning the phone means seeing certain language, words, sentences that are dangerous for your child. Also, the second one would be TikTok. Follows the exact same format. You have full ability to block. You just don't have the ability to scan it. Those are the only 2. Now, something really cool about Bark also is that they have specific phones you can buy. So my mom, whenever I was growing up, I was a diehard Samsung user for my entire middle to freshman year until I met my lovely wife who converted me to an iPhone. And I know I'm on the side. I'm there to go. But my mom, she wanted to get me it wasn't a Bark phone at the time. It was just like a throwaway phone, right? Just flip phone calls, text messages, that's all you need. With the Bark phone, you have similar capabilities. They can access the web, only specific websites that you want them to do, but it's a very downgraded phone style. Now, there's a secondary software. This software is called Family Keeper. Now, Family Keeper has one standard plan that allows for you to do the following. It doesn't have the junior and the premium. It's one plan. You sign up, you're there, you're ready to go. Both of these do have trials as well, so you can try the app before you use it. Now, this app allows for you to limit their screen time, similar to Bark. You can set schedules when they can use certain apps, and you have a shutdown feature. Shutdown means that when it's bedtime, it's bedtime. Nothing else you can do about it. That child is not able to go any further unless the parent allows for it. And they have to do that from their device. It's not from the child's device. You will also be able to monitor social media. You can search specific words sent to or by your child to protect from cyberbullying, sexual messaging, or online predators as a whole. You also are going to have a live location feature very similar to that of Bark. When you want to know where your child is, you can look it up and know exactly where they are. You can also filter inappropriate content. If there's certain websites you do not want your child to be at, they don't have to be there. You have the ability to block that. If there's certain apps you do not want your child to use, you have the ability to block that so they don't have to use it. Now, there's other tools that we can use as well. When I was a kid, the last thing that I wanted was to be monitored, right? I talked about it. I needed to know why. But what my mom did do was take other steps before monitoring to see what can we do to fix the tech issue. That's what we're going to talk about now, is the other tools you can use. First thing is going to be co-viewing. Co-viewing is very similar to the screen time that I mentioned before, or the story time. If your kids want to watch a specific show, or they want to watch a specific movie, you need to first and foremost ensure it is appropriate. I will always advise, please watch the movie before your child watches that movie. Because where Hollywood is today, where movies are today, they will throw things in there that you are not ready for. So you need to screen it before your child watches it. You have to make sure it's appropriate. Secondly, you can use this time to bond as a family, right? I'll never forget my mother, when we were watching a show together, there was this one scene where this teenage girl was doing something she absolutely should have had no handle in whatsoever. My mom immediately turned it off, and she asked me a question. Why do you think I turned the TV off? What did this allow for me? I had to think about why it was a bad thing. Why was what I just viewed not appropriate, right? Now, for you guys, if you're screening these films, you shouldn't have those opportunities to be able to do it. But every movie, every moment that you guys have as parents is a teaching moment. We talked about it in Proverbs. Everything you do is to train up your child. Everything. The way that you walk, the way that you talk, the things that you do, the things that you use. Everything you do is to train up your child. So if you're watching a movie, use it as a moment to educate. If you're watching a TV show, use it as a moment to educate. Because there's certain shows that it's not a bad thing, but it is silly, the things that they do. And you can at least say, hey, please don't do this, right? It's a moment to show them, do not do the things that you see. And this can be a time for you to grow your child, to grow them in what they are viewing and doing. Next is going to be real friends, okay? So for me personally, when I was growing up, I was absolutely obsessed with video games. It was bad. All I wanted to do was play video games. I got an Xbox when I was 10 years old, and I think it was honestly one of the worst things that could have happened in my life. I got that Xbox, glued to it. I started playing Call of Duty, a bunch of different games. Call of Duty was the thing that I was very into. And what happened is in middle and high school, as I started getting addicted to playing these video games, I got to a position where I didn't want to hang out with friends from school. I got to a position to where when they wanted to hang out, I was like, cool, okay, let's play online. I didn't want to do it in person. I didn't care to toss the ball. I just wanted to play video games. That's all I wanted to do. That's it. And a story came out of that. When I was about 11 years old, I was playing Call of Duty with someone that I thought was a friend. His name was Taylor. Now, me and Taylor, we played together for 6 months every single day, 3 hours a day. We built a life. It felt like we built a life together, right? We started developing a friendship that I thought was solid foundation. Nothing's going to shake it. And what happened, 6 months on the dot hits, Taylor comes up to me and says, man, my parents can't afford to play anymore. I got to shut down my server. I can't play. We can't afford it. So I guess we just can't be friends anymore, right? Now, little 11-year-old me, that broke my heart, right? This is my buddy. This is the guy that I loved. We were great friends. This broke my heart because for 6 months, every single day, we were together. We built this relationship. Now, another few weeks go by, and he's like, let's share social media so that we can talk when I'm not allowed to play. I was like, sure, let's do it. And what happened through that is he came and asked me, hey, I really still want to play with you. Can you pay for my membership? And I said, I don't have money. I'm 11 years old, but I can take my mom's card, I guess. And so I grabbed my mom's credit card. And what do? I sneaked this credit card into my room, and then luckily I was speaking it, I wasn't typing it, and my mom's like, this number sounds really familiar. What is he doing with this? And she comes running into my room. She sees me with a credit card. She's like, what are you doing? She rips it from my hand, and I tell her the story. And for some of you may know or may not know, my stepdad was a detective for Johns Creek. He immediately looked into this person, and it was a 31-year-old man that lived across the sea trying to steal my information. He took 6 months of his life to build a relationship with me, to have me trust him enough to give him my mom's credit card information. That's how tricky it can be. And for you guys as parents, when your child comes and tells you, they're a friend, I promise. This was a friend, I promise. This is the person that I thought was my best friend in the world. And I had no idea what he was about to do to my family. That's how real it can get. For us today, we have a call. We have a specific goal that we have to make sure we step. We need to protect our children. To protect your child is to know that you know more than they do. That when they start telling you certain things, you need to verify those things. Very, very grateful that my mother heard that credit card number because I don't know what was going to come out of that. But what happens if she didn't? Not at any point did she verify who is this person that you're talking to every single night. That's step number one. Why are you on video games 2 hours a night, every single night, talking to the exact same person that you don't know from school, you've never met, that says he lives in Texas, who did not live in Texas? Steps needed to happen, and they didn't. And that's where those little pieces of protection can come into play. Now, this is one of many occurrences that can happen through video games alone, but it can happen through social media, it can happen through group messaging, it can happen anywhere. Real friendships are those that are going to be in-person contacts. What you don't want for your child is to allow your child's digital contact to replace their in-person contact. Because you know what happened when I started getting obsessed with video games? I didn't care about my family. I didn't care about my friends. I only cared about when can I touch the controller again. That's all I cared about. That was my life, fully. And I needed that change. Digital contacts cannot replace in-person contact. It absolutely cannot. Next, we're going to talk about some warning signs. These warning signs, as parents, you need to be aware of warning signs that your child may be doing something that is suspicious, that you should be looking out for. They may quickly turn off the computer when you guys enter the room. This was my thing. As soon as mom walked into the room, Xbox off, computer down. That was my thing. And she had no suspicion to it. But let's take away oblivion. If you guys see that, there's a reason they're hiding what they're hiding. They may become agitated or angry when you limit their online time. When my mom wanted to take away that controller, it wasn't happening without a fight, that's for sure. They can become agitated and angry very quickly when you limit it. And like we said before, that shouldn't stop you. If anything, that should encourage you, that you're doing the right thing. They may prefer to spend time online rather than with their family or with their friends. Like I mentioned before, I could care less what my friends were doing. I could care less what my family was doing. I just wanted to get to the next thing. They may try to sneak computer time when they are alone. This is where those softwares are going to be imperative to be able to make sure that you're monitoring your child and setting down parameters to lock it in. Because I would try to sneak my phone like crazy. We had a rule when my wife and I was dating. When I was going to sleep, absolutely no phone. I already told you I got that alarm clock ready to go. So I couldn't have the phone in the bedroom, right? For me and my wife, we're like, well, we just want to talk. My wife was a night owl, and I was bedtime at 9:30, right? So there was a little bit of a problem. And so for her, all I wanted to do was talk to her, right? I just wanted to grow our relationship and become tighter and more in love with each other. That's what I wanted. But what did that mean? I don't have a phone. I got an alarm clock. There's not much I can do with that. So I got to sneak my phone. I would go into my mom's room. I knew where she hid it. I would try to grab that phone, and I think she's asleep as could be. And what do I get? What are you doing? And she knew exactly what I was doing. She knew I was going for it. And she specifically left it right next to her when she was on the bed. Why? Because she knew if I was coming, I got to wake her up to be able to get it. And that wasn't going to happen. I would rather do anything than that, right? But that's a step, right? Your kids are going to try to sneak it. It's going to happen. And what happens as a parent when that moment occurs? You got to let them know you can't do this. You have to take the step to make sure your child is protected. You got to protect them in that way. They're going to push back. I try to sneak my phone more times than I can count. You would think I would understand the first time. I did not. They will try multiple times. They'll wait till you forget. You're not going to forget, right? Make sure you protect them. They may lose interest in certain activities that don't involve technology. I was huge into baseball when I was growing up. I was playing through high school. I wrestled through high school. I absolutely loved sports. But it took me losing my technology to find my love for sports again. Because I got to the position to where, sports are fun, but I'm never going to be in the MLB. It's never going to happen, so might as well just play video games all the time, right? That was my mindset. As soon as it got taken away, I fell in love with baseball again. And I got to start doing the things that I loved that I wasn't doing before. To end, there's a few things to take away for you guys. Today, we've heard the dangers and effects that technology has on your child's body. We've heard of the dangers that are out there for your child. And we've also now seen tools to help monitor technology for your children. It is now your job as parents to make a decision. What's that decision? Are you going to guard young eyes? Are you going to protect your children? Are you going to buy them alarm clocks when they need alarm clocks? Or are you going to let them use their phone? Your job is to protect your children. Whatever step that looks like, whatever next point for you looks like, take it. I promise you, you will not regret it because your child will look back and thank you. I thank my parents for what happened in my life. I truly do, because it allowed for me to be protected.